Today I want to talk about 5 things that I've learned a year into being a full-time entrepreneur and on my journey. Now these 5 things are going to be kind of not life lessons, so to speak, but kind of just overall knowledge of what I've accumulated and where my mindset is as I learn along the journey of becoming an entrepreneur. Now I've done entrepreneurial ventures, I've done a lot of e-commerce and marketing for years and selling stuff online like that. But it's really been a little over a year now since I quit my job and I'm fully into entrepreneurship online. So I'm gonna give you 5 things that I've learned throughout that full-time process as I've devoted my entire energy and focus to learning and obviously growing my online businesses. So first and foremost is it's not as hard as you might think, but it's definitely not as easy. And they go both hand in hand. Now this is something that Grant Cardone talks about a lot. And it's definitely not as hard as you might, be led to believe. If you, you're thinking about quitting your job, or you're thinking about, jumping into another online entrepreneurial venture, whether that's drop shipping, Amazon FBA, affiliate marketing. There's literally a million different things. Content creation is another one that I talk about a lot. Whatever it is, it's not as hard as you might think. Anybody can do it if you're willing to put the work in and learn. But that being said, it's not as easy as some of the gurus out there. And when I say gurus, I'm not like lumping anybody into a specific group or anybody that's teaching that stuff. But what I am trying to get at is, the people that really want to make you think that, oh, they have the secret that's really going to help, give you the edge, or there's no secret, guys. You can make money with any one of these business models, but just like I said, just like this first one outlines, it's not as hard, but it's certainly not as easy. You're gonna have to put the work in. One of the things that I've learned along the way that we're gonna talk about in a little bit is you're gonna fail. So you're gonna learn, you're gonna fail. That might be a big failure, that might be a small failure, but you're gonna fail. You're gonna learn from that failure. You're gonna implement what you've learned from that failure. You're gonna fail again. You're gonna learn from that second failure. You're gonna adapt. You're gonna implement what you've learned from that failure, and then you might fail again. You might fail again, and eventually you're going to succeed. But I promise you, you will succeed. And whatever you choose to do, if you're constantly learning, you're constantly innovating, and you've made that decision that you're gonna succeed and that you're invested in it no matter what. So that's the first one I want to talk about. I could talk about that for literally hours, but we're just going to keep it short. We're going to keep a lot of these points short because I think that there's a lot of value in these points, and I think that you guys can kind of get. I want you to adopt these kind of mindsets and just understand the insight from this full-time from this year of full-time entrepreneurship that I've gone under. So that's number 1, is not as hard as you might think, but it's certainly not as easy. Don't let anybody tell you that it's easy because while you can learn these things and implement them, it does take work. So number 2 is never stop learning. Now this is something that I've been guilty of, obviously in my past, but especially here as I've, recently, realistically, so I start to see some success, and this just isn't me, because there's a lot of other people that have seen success online, across the board. Like I said, it is possible. It's not as hard, but it's not as easy, like we talked about before. And this is something I'm 100% guilty of. So I see a little bit of success here, and then I see a little bit more success, and I see a little bit more success. And it's not like there's ever that conscious moment for me or for you or whoever's watching this that can relate, that you sit there and you think, I know it all. Obviously there are some people that think that way. The majority of us don't think that we know it all. We don't have that much of an ego where we're like, I don't need to learn anymore. But it is, you get so focused on the fact that you're seeing success that you think that you're not conscious of the fact that you could maybe improve this, you could maybe improve that. There might be other people out there that even if they're not levels above you, so to speak, so much, that you couldn't learn something from them. And that's something that I stopped doing. And as soon as I stopped learning, as soon as I stopped growing, I stopped, I not fully stopped, but I kind of scaled back watching YouTube videos that were instructional a lot. I definitely scaled back reading books a lot. I definitely scaled back, researching different techniques, whether that's bringing alternative ways of traffic to my website where I'm not paying for ads, whether that's, whatever it is. Obviously you can tailor this to whatever business model you want to tailor it to, or just online in general. But as soon as I stopped learning, I really kind of saw that stagnant growth, and I wasn't getting any better. And I think that is relayed, not just in the way that I communicate with you guys, but also in the content that I'm creating, and as well as how I'm adapting to business, from a day-to-day basis, regardless of what business model we're talking about. So my entire channel right now, the key kind of phrase is automate your income, because I want to teach you guys how to make money online. I love to teach you that. But if you're a longtime subscriber, if you've been following me for a while now, you know that one of the old mottos used to be always be innovating, or always be learning, always be innovating. And the reason that I started that, and it obviously still rings true, is because you never want to get stagnant in your growth. You never want to get complacent. You never want to feel like, you can't learn or improve. So, wherever you are, whether you're at the bottom, whether you're at the middle, whether you're somewhere in between that, or you're all the way at the top, you should still be learning. You should still be innovating, because you can always grow and get better. And even if you're all the way at the top, there's still somebody that's shooting for you and gunning for you to take your spot. So always be learning, always be adapting, always be looking for new ways to improve your content and your online businesses. Even if you're not doing online marketing or just e-commerce, that's a life lesson. So number 3 is crucial, and it's something I've talked about in the past many times: diversifying. So diversification is crucial. If obviously if you're not working online, it's still crucial, but it's definitely crucial if you're doing anything online, whether that's e-commerce, marketing, whatever the case is, creating content, you need to diversify. Now, diversify not just, what you're doing, but your income stream. So me specifically, obviously we all know that, recently my Amazon account was suspended, and that's what prompted all this, me preaching diversification. But regardless of it, if it hasn't happened to you yet, you should still be preparing. Now, like I said, I dropped that video where I talk about this in depth, so I won't get too in depth with this, but it's crucial to diversify. You don't want to be, a jack of all trades. So it's definitely important to master something first. Don't jump the gun and think, oh my God, diversification, I'm bugging out, I need to get, 6 streams of income. But definitely master what you're learning first. So if you're just getting into the game with Amazon private labeling, make sure you master the private labeling. If you're just doing retail arbitrage, scale the retail arbitrage all the way up. Spend a good couple months learning that. But it is important, and something I want to talk about is there's no point necessarily where you're going to see specifically that, oh my God, I hit that point, now I need to diversify with another income stream. You have to make that judgment call for yourself. But it is important that once you get going and you've kind of mastered it, so to speak, obviously like the last point, keep learning, keep innovating with that, but then you also want to break apart and start learning something else and implement another income stream. And then in the future, and once you master this a little bit, implement another one. You don't want to be a jack of all trades, a master of none, but you definitely don't want to be so attached and so married to one income stream. It's important to diversify. I'm telling you, diversify. It's crucial. So number 4 is, just a life lesson overall, but it definitely applies to people that are learning online games, whether, you're in social media marketing. This is definitely crucial in social media marketing, actually. And one of the things I preached, in the past is if you're approaching clients, you're going to get turned down a number of times. You have to be okay with failing. And that's what we're talking about here. You have to be okay with failing. So whether you're into the marketing game, whether you're doing e-commerce, another great example of this, or another 2 great examples of this would be drop shipping and private labeling. And this goes across the board. These are just examples that I'm using here to speak with you about these, to kind of relate, a story to you. But I actually failed my first private label product, and I failed my first drop shipping store, and I failed them miserably. Now, one of the things that I want to talk about is that it's okay to fail. You have to understand when it's okay to cut bait with a certain, drop shipping store or a certain private label product. But it's also, you have to also understand that it's okay to fail. If you fail your first product, that doesn't mean that you're a failure. That doesn't mean that business model didn't work. It just means that you have to keep going back to number 2, learning and innovating. So keep learning, keep innovating, keep, failing and adapting, and eventually you will succeed. But don't get so discouraged if you fail. It's part of the process. Everybody that's successful, from the top people all the way down, have failed, and it's okay to fail. You learn a lot more. I know it's cliche, but trust me, I failed a lot in my life, and a lot of the top people fail, and they continue to fail. You learn a lot more from failure than you ever will from success, so keep that in mind. Number 5, and finally, is don't compare yourself, guys. I see this across the board, and I'm guilty of this myself. Trust me. Don't compare yourself. If you're if you're seeing somewhat of success now, you definitely don't want to compare yourself to people lower than you, because obviously then you'll get complacent. If you have friends that kind of aren't trying to grow and get better, or aren't trying to, aren't focused on the same things that you're focused on, don't compare yourself to them. The more you spend time and compare yourself, to the goals that they want, the more you're going to be complacent, and you're not going to strive for other great things that you're not going to follow your truth. So don't compare yourself to people that are lower than you. But also, and this goes for me as well, because I am kind of a little bit successful with this online game. Obviously my goals are all the way up here. We'll go out of the screen so you can't see them, but I'm guilty of this too, and I compare myself to people that are above me right now, that are making more than me, and have someone with a Lambo, or someone with a this mansion, and somebody that's boasting hundreds of thousands of dollars in private label sales. And while I see success, I start to compare myself, and I've been guilty of this in the past, to people that are making that are on a different level than me. And while that can be somewhat healthy, because you want to understand, like I said, goals up here, you want to understand and shoot for the stars, and understand that other people are there, so it's definitely possible, and you just need to keep working and improving, and you'll get there eventually. But it's important not to compare yourself to these people, because you need to focus on what you're doing and improving what you're doing, and then just continue to learn along your process, or along your specific process and your path, and not get too focused on what other people are doing and comparing to what, the material things that they have that you might have, or vice versa. And that's very, very important, because you're gonna get discouraged. And I started to see this a lot with myself, probably a few months back. You start looking at all these other people, especially in the online game, and because everybody's showing what they have with this whole Instagram type of world that we live in now. Everybody wants to show off everything that they have, and sometimes it's true, sometimes it's kind of fabricated, but regardless, you don't want to compare yourself to these types of things, because it's just going to discourage you and kind of hinder your growth, so to speak, because you're going to look at these things and think that there's this huge gap in between, and you're not going to realize that you don't need to just fill this entire gap to get to where you want to be. You need to fill this small gap, and then this small gap, and then this small gap. It's a process, guys.